Hello everyone, welcome back to GED. Today we're doing a review of the Dragonflight Destruction Warlock talents, the new ones, the improved ones, the rearranged talent tree. I'm not going to be going over the left side because it's all pretty much baseline stuff, defensives and cooldowns that, you know, are typical to the class. The only thing I can say is that you would want to take one of the middle talents, which is either Summon Soulkeeper or Inquisitor's Gaze. Soulkeeper is your AoE talent. Inquisitor's Gaze is just a little extra damage for an hour on a single target. But anyways, I'm primarily a Demonology Warlock, but Destruction's always had a certain flair to it, you know, that a lot of people love the big hard-hitting fire spells. And I'm just going to go over the talents that I chose if I'm going to be subbing as a Destruction Warlock, what talents I would take. And spoiler alert, I like instacast spells. I don't like long channeling spells. I love the instacasts. But anyways, let's get into it. Chaos Bolt. I don't know why this is a talent. It's pretty much your trademark skill of your entire class. Why they would put it as a talent, nobody knows. Same goes with the next one, Conflagrate, which is your instant cast explosion that generates soul shards. And then your reverse entropy typically is part of the destruction spec. So basically all spells have a chance to grant you 15% haste for 8 seconds, speeding up those casts, making you a powerhouse of destruction. Rain of Fire, again, why is this a talent? Nobody knows. They could slot so much different stuff in here, but again, Rain of Fire is your AoE 3 soul shard cast. That's just pretty much a requirement for any Mythic Plus. Not so much rating, but definitely Mythic Plus. Alright, so now we'll start going into the semi-choice nodes. Backdraft. Conflagrate reduces the cast time of Incinerate, Chaos Bolt, and Soulfire by 30%. Yes, please. I love speeding up the spells so much, and it's pretty much a want-to-take spell for me. Now you get a choice node between Mayhem and Havoc. Mayhem is kind of like you cast spells and have a 25% chance to apply Havoc to a random enemy, and Havoc is just Havoc for 12 seconds. Basically mirroring damage to 2 targets. I actually chose Mayhem here, just because it's ease of use. Basically, every time you're casting a spell, you have that slight 1 in 4 chance of getting 5 seconds of duplication of your spells. I know Havoc is very much, I want to say, like, slightly better for triggering those key moments of AoE, but on key targets, but I just like the way Mayhem works. Hey, release the Mayhem. Pyrogenics is the third one in this row. Enemies affected by Rain of Fire take 5% from all fire spells. That's not bad. A Rain of Fire here and there, you get that 5% extra damage in AoE. Not bad at all. Okay, now from here I'm only going to be going over the ones that I've chosen, and you can argue in the comments below if you think that a better choice is viable, but these are the ones I chose and I'll tell you why. Roaring Blaze. Conflagration increases your Immolation, Incinerate, and Conflagrate damage to the target by 25%. So basically, your instant casts are going to boost all your other spells by 25% for 8 seconds. Very nice. Sans Chaos Bolt. Explosive Potential is the reduced cooldown of Conflagrate by 2 seconds. Nice. That means more insta-cast Conflagrates. It's baseline 13 seconds. Going to go down to roughly about 10. And then next up we have the Channel Demon Fire ability. A lot of people don't like this spell because it is a channel and it does not do a crazy amount of damage, but I like it. I've always liked the way it aesthetically looks, and now it does a little bit of AoE damage around it. So basically 15 bolts of Fellfire at 3 random immolated targets, and each bolt deals 20% of your spell power, which, you know, it's gonna be about equaling about 300% of your spell power, but it's very weak when you actually use it. If they buff this, it could be a definite take. Pandemonium increases the duration of Havoc, and Mayhem has an additional 10% chance to trigger. So instead of 25%, you got a 35%, 1 in 3 roughly chance of doing a Mayhem proc for 5 seconds, which is good. I like more Mayhem. And then down here we have Inferno. Rain of Fire is increased by 20% damage and has 20% chance to generate your soul shard fragments. Wow, that's a tongue twister. So basically, as you're AoEing, you can AoE more because it's generating more shards for you to use on your AoE. I've always liked Rain of Fire builds with Destruction Warlock, just dumping tons of fire all over the battlefield. But it's good. All right, now we're going into more meteor spells in the second little section here. Soulfire is a 4-second cast. Now I know I said I liked instant cast spells, but this spell rather, as an opener, as a hey, the enemy's not paying attention to me, or even as a boss ability, is actually super strong. It's basically Pyroblast for the Destruction Warlock. Burns the enemy's soul for 300+% power of damage, and applies Immolate on the target. So you're getting a 2-in-1 there for 4 seconds. If you got your haste proc up, it's much less. I think you can get this down to roughly a 2.5 if you align the stars right and get those haste procs. Then more instant cast, we got Shadowburn up here. 2 charges, 1 soul shard cost though, and it is an instant cast. It blasts the target, and then you gain 50% crit if they have less than 20% health. So it's your execute / filler spell. But the next tree below it kind of makes it better. Raging Demon Fire. Channeling Demon Fire fires 2 additional bolts, and they increase the remaining duration of Immolate on all targets hit by 2 seconds. The only reason I put 1 point here is because it increases the immolation time on targets. So if you're spreading immolates with either your soul burn or just hard casting it or whatever through mayhem, then the Demon Fire channels are going to help you maintain that and do damage and do AoE damage. So it's kind of like a synergistic ability here, just to keep those immolates rolling even longer on targets without having to recast. Decimation is in the next row. Your Incinerate and Conflagrate on targets that have 50% or less health reduce the cooldown of Soulfire. I debated taking this or not taking this. I decided to actually take it because when you're doing an execute phase on a boss, Decimation plus Soulfire, either in Mythic Plus or a raid, can actually do a lot of buku damage, assuming you don't have much movement involved. If you're just hard casting these Soulfires, you're doing a lot of damage and applying those immolates. Conflagration of Chaos. Conflagrate and Shadowburn have a 50% chance to guarantee your next cast of the ability to critically strike and increases damage by your critical strike chance. That's hard to wrap your head around, but basically every time you have 2 charges of one of these abilities, you're dropping them both in succession and you're doing a lot of insta-cast damage. It's just like bam bam, and if it crits, oh my god, the damage, it's just crazy. Ruin is in the next row. Increases the damage of Conflagrate, Channeled Demon Fire, Shadowburn, and Soulfire by 20%. So again, going back to your 3 abilities right here, Conflagrate, Demon Fire, and Shadowburn, your instant cast abilities are all getting buffed even more by Ruin, 20%. Just drop it on top. Love it. Eradication is right next to it. Chaos Bolt increases the damage to the target by 10% for 7 seconds. So basically, a Chaos Bolt to the dome means you're doing more damage to the target. That's simple, easy. So now we get into the trickiest part of the destruction tree, the capstones, and which way you want to go with your abilities. I love summoning demons as warlocks, which is why I played demonology primarily, but the Infernal has always been the creme de la creme of the destruction tree, which, why it's a talent now, I'm sure will make a ton of warlocks really mad, but it is. So you have to go over to this left side with Summon Infernal. Drops him from the sky, stuns the target, does its immolation aura, and just, there you go, Infernal. And I'm going to go down his talent choices here before we go to the middle section. Crashing Chaos. Summon Infernal reduces the soul shard of your next 6 Chaos Bolts, Shadow Burns, or Rain of Fire by 1. I chose to max this because 6 free soul shards is really good. Even though this is like a 3-minute cooldown, 6 free soul shards is like basically just filling your entire soul shard bar. And there you go, +1. And the very, very last capstone, Reign of Chaos. While your Infernal is active, every soul shard has a 15% chance to summon an additional Infernal. So basically, kind of how we see in Shadowlands now, when you drop an Infernal and just see tons of them just wailing away on people, walking around, doing their thing. Yeah, Reign of Chaos. Love it. Middle tree, middle talent choices, Diabolic Embers. Incinerate now generates 100% additional soul fragments. So every time you're hard casting Incinerate, you're getting more soul shards to cast on more abilities. So simple, easy. And I chose Madness of the Akir because this one just didn't seem as good right off the bat. Why I chose Madness. So every time you cast a Chaos Bolt back-to-back, a Rain of Fire back-to-back, or a Shadow Burn back-to-back, it's going to be doing 20 to 25% extra damage. Especially for Chaos Bolt, you're also reducing the cast time of every Chaos Bolt by 20%. So, I mean, you drop your Infernal, you start doing Madness and casting Chaos Bolts back-to-back at one less soul shard per cast, remember that. So you're dropping, I don't know, maybe 3-4 chaos bolts if you can get lucky, and you're doing a lot of damage. And the same thing with Shadowburn. Since it increases Shadowburn's damage by 25%, you have this talent where if you're casting them back to back, again, you're boosting that damage by critical strike chance. So anything back to back is doing more damage. Rain of Fires, 20% extra damage plus 25% extra damage. So every time you double cast Rain of Fire, you're doing more AoE damage, a lot more. It's just so good compared to some mastery points in the left side. So Madness is 100% my take there. And finally, the last capstone is, of course, the ability that every Warlock loves and that every Warlock is kind of raging about right now is Dimensional Rift. They moved it over here to the center. It's 3 charges with a 45-second recharge, but you get a chance to summon a Shadow, Unstable, or Chaos Rift, and they're just free soul shards and free damage with an instant cast. Again, I love my instant cast abilities, so this is my Warlock build. And I think if I play Destruction Warlock in any PvP or sub-dungeons / raids, this is going to be absolutely fun and fantastic to be insta-casting and blowing stuff up. What do you guys think? Let me know.